Good morning, and welcome to Future Trends, where we examine the latest stories reshaping tomorrow's international dynamics. This week's headlines: Russia's use of banned chemical weapons in Ukraine, Houthis resumes Red Sea ship attacks, astronomers discover fastest interstellar object. Starting with politics, Hong Kong's last pro-democracy group disbands. The League of Social Democrats announced it will disband due to mounting pressure amidst a 5-year national security crackdown. Its closure follows the dissolution of 2 other groups in recent years, leaving the city with no formal pro-democracy opposition. Russia, first country to formally recognize Taliban. While no country had formally recognized the Taliban administration until now, the group had engaged in high-level talks with many nations and established some diplomatic ties with countries including China and the UAE. Russian officials have recently been emphasizing the need to engage with the Taliban to help stabilize Afghanistan and lifted a ban on the Taliban in April. Call for Costa Rica's president to face corruption trial. Costa Rica's top court asked lawmakers to lift President Chávez's immunity to face corruption charges over alleged kickbacks to a top government ally funded by the Central American Bank for Economic Integration. The request now goes to the opposition-led Congress. If convicted, Chávez faces 2 to 8 years in prison. Venezuela declares UN rights chief persona non grata. The National Assembly unanimously voted to ban High Commissioner Volker Turk after he condemned arbitrary detentions and forced disappearances before the Human Rights Council. Niger launches Transitional Council for post-coup reforms. The Consultative Council for Refoundation will guide political transition following the military takeover, with Burkina Faso expressing solidarity through high-level delegation participation in the launch ceremony. Turning to conflict news, Russia increases use of banned chemical weapons in Ukraine. The Netherlands Military Intelligence and the Security Service, together with the German Intelligence Service, found that the use of prohibited chemical weapons by the Russian military had become standardized and commonplace in Ukraine. It includes the use of the World War I-era poison gas chloropycrin. Houthis claim first ship sinking this year in Red Sea attack. Yemen's Iran-aligned Houthis said a cargo ship they struck had sunk in the Red Sea. The 19 crew members were allowed to disembark from the Liberian-flagged bulk carrier, which was carrying iron and fertilizer from China to Turkey. The attack ended half a year of calm in the Red Sea, one of the world's busiest shipping routes, where Houthi attacks had disrupted shipping between Europe and Asia through the Suez Canal. Meanwhile, Israel attacked ports and facilities in Yemen held by the Houthi, with the rebels responding with missile fire targeting Israel. Kurdish fighters in Iraq announced steps toward disarmament. The Kurdistan Workers' Party, PKK, fighters in northern Iraq will begin handing over their weapons as part of a peace process with Turkey. This marks the first concrete step toward disarmament following PKK leader Abdullah Öcalan's February 2025 call to end fighting. Israeli settlers attack IDF military base in West Bank. Dozens of Israeli settlers entered a military base in the Israeli-occupied West Bank, setting fires, vandalizing military vehicles, spraying graffiti and attacking soldiers, the military said. The unrest came after several attacks in the West Bank carried out by Jewish settlers and anger at their arrests by security forces attempting to contain the violence over the past few days. Afghans deported from Iran. Iran has deported tens of thousands of Afghans in the fallout of the conflict with Israel that the UN says risks further destabilizing Afghanistan, already battling a humanitarian crisis. The UN Refugee Agency estimates Iran deported home an average of more than 30,000 Afghans each day during the recent war, up from about 2,000 earlier. Moving to economics, Brazil adopts Chinese payment system push against US dollar. Latin America's first bank will integrate China's cross-border interbank payment system as BRICS nations reduce US dollar dependency, with national currencies now comprising over 65% of member trade transactions. Meanwhile, the US threatened an extra 10% tariffs on any countries which aligned themselves with the anti-American policies of the BRICS group of 11 nations, which includes Russia, China, India, Saudi Arabia, and Indonesia. US ends sanctions on Syria. The executive order signed by President Trump is meant to end the country's isolation from the international financial system, setting the stage for global commerce and galvanizing investments from its neighbors in the region, as well as from the United States, said Treasury's acting Undersecretary for Terrorism and Financial Intelligence, Brad Smith. Ecuador joins China's Belt and Road Initiative after Colombia. The deal secured for Ecuador investment from China's infrastructure program in ports, railways and renewable energy to create Pacific Asia logistics corridors. US has largest number of layoffs since COVID. In the first half of 2025, companies announced 744,308 job cuts nationwide, the highest tally since the first 6 months of 2020, when employers cut nearly 1.6 million jobs in response to COVID-related disruptions. Federal agencies have been particularly hard hit this year, while other sectors shedding workers include retail, technology, media, and non-profit organizations. Microsoft confirmed it will lay off as many as 9,000 workers. Samsung expects 56% profit drop. The fall in second quarter operating profit from a year earlier came as its chip business struggled with weak sales of artificial intelligence chips, dogged by delays in the supply of its latest chips to Nvidia and continued losses in its contract chip manufacturing business. The world's largest memory chip maker estimated an operating profit of $3.34 billion for the April-June period, compared with $7.56 billion in the same period a year earlier and $4.87 billion in the preceding quarter. In development news, Europe to stockpile critical minerals due to risk of war. Brussels says it will build up emergency stockpiles of critical minerals and cable repair kits as concerns mount over the EU's vulnerability to attack. Member states should coordinate backup supplies of food, medicines, and even nuclear fuel, the EU executive said. It would also accelerate work on stockpiles of items, such as cable repair modules, to ensure prompt recovery from energy or optical cable disruptions, and commodities such as rare earths and permanent magnets, which are crucial for energy and defense systems. Spain to shift $1.9 billion in reserve assets to help developing countries. The additional funds will go into the International Monetary Fund's Poverty Reduction and Growth Trust, which is used to provide concessional loans to poor countries. Poland reinstates border controls with Germany, Lithuania. The government said it was needed to control illegal migration, an issue central to June's presidential election, where nationalist Karol Nawrocki, who ran on a slogan of Poland First, Poles First, narrowly defeated the candidate backed by Prime Minister Tusk. Warren Buffett donates $6 billion to foundations. This brings the total he has given in stock to them since 2006 to roughly $60 billion. The largest tranche is going to the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation Trust, which will receive 9.4 million shares. Parisians swim in Seine River after century-long ban. The French capital's iconic waterway has been closed to swimmers since 1923, with few exceptions, due to pollution and risks posed by river navigation. After $1.5 billion cleanup project tied to last year's Olympics, officials say the Seine meets European water quality standards on most days. Finally, our social news. Astronomers discover fastest interstellar object ever. Only the third interstellar object ever discovered it is hurtling towards the Sun at 60 kilometers a second. Although its size is difficult to estimate, it is estimated to be between 200 meters and 1 kilometer wide. Dalai Lama says he'll have a successor. The centuries-old Tibetan Buddhist institution will continue after his death, ending years of speculation that started when he indicated he might be the last person to hold the role. Having a successor would mean he would be reincarnated. The decision, however, is expected to upset China, which has repeatedly said it alone has the authority to approve the next religious leader. Pilgrims treated as illegal migrants while underground Catholics are arrested in Wenzhou. In the Chinese province of Zhejiang, the authorities have recently detained priests, nuns and ordinary Catholics who made a trip abroad last year with the aim to induce underground Bishop Xiao Zhumin to join a government-controlled church body. Ancient DNA reveals genetic link between early Egypt and Mesopotamia. New research has uncovered a striking genetic connection between ancient Egypt and Mesopotamia, shedding light on the movement of people across early civilizations nearly 5,000 years ago. The individual's DNA revealed that about 80% of his ancestry was North African, while 20% traced to the Fertile Crescent, the birthplace of Mesopotamian civilization. Singapore police can now seize bank accounts to stop scams. The new law is aimed at addressing a common issue faced by the police where victims often refuse to believe they are being scammed. Described as intrusive by some members of parliament, the measures will enable police to also block money transfers amid a worsening problem with scams in Singapore, which rose to a record $860 million in 2024. That's your Future Trends update for this week. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you next time with more stories reshaping our world.